The camera pans backstage at Survivor Series Wargames, and what we're seeing right now has the entire wrestling world absolutely losing their minds. Triple H is standing there, arms crossed, that familiar smirk on his face, and he just said something that sent shockwaves through every single person in that arena. He's ready. 2 words. That's all it took. 2 words that have ignited a firestorm of speculation, controversy, and pure, unfiltered chaos. Because right now, as bodies are being broken inside the demonic steel structure, as alliances are crumbling and new ones are being forged in blood and sweat, there's one name on everyone's lips. One name that could change everything. Seth freaking Rollins. And if you think WWE is about to let this play out quietly, you haven't been paying attention. The visionary, the revolutionary, the architect of the Shield, the man who has carried Monday Night Raw on his damaged back for months, might be closer to a return than anyone dared to imagine. But here's what's got me absolutely furious. What should have you furious right now? Watching this video, WWE has been playing us. They've been dropping breadcrumbs, leaving clues, orchestrating this entire narrative while we've been sitting here like sheep, accepting their story that Rollins would be out until Royal Rumble, maybe even WrestleMania. Meanwhile, backstage footage is leaking, production trucks are buzzing with activity, and insider reports are suggesting something massive is brewing. Something that could explode at any moment. Listen, if you're as obsessed with this as I am, if you need to know every single detail about what's really happening with Seth Rollins, then smash the like button right now because we're about to expose everything WWE doesn't want you to see. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, not because I'm begging you, but because when this story breaks wide open and you're scrambling to figure out what happened, you're going to wish you had this channel ready to deliver the truth. We're a community here at Ring Rumble, and we don't just report wrestling news, we dissect it, we analyze it, and we hold WWE accountable when they try to manipulate us. So let's get into this absolute madness together. Seth Rollins hasn't been seen on WWE television since Bronson Reed absolutely demolished him with not 1, not 2, but 6 tsunamis that should have ended any normal man's career. The visual was horrifying. Rollins lying there, motionless, as medical personnel rushed to his aid. The severity of the injury was sold as career-threatening. WWE programming hammered home the message Rollins would be out indefinitely. His recovery would be long. His return would be uncertain. And you know what? We believed them. We felt sympathy for the visionary. We worried about his health. We wondered if we'd ever see him compete at the same level again. But here's where things get absolutely insane, and this is where you need to pay very close attention because WWE is playing 4-dimensional chess while we're all stuck playing checkers. The timeline doesn't add up. The injury occurred in late summer. Standard recovery for the type of injuries WWE claimed Rollins sustained would be 12 to 16 weeks for someone who isn't a professional wrestler with access to the absolute best medical treatment money can buy. We're now approaching that exact time frame. Survivor Series just happened. Raw is entering its most crucial period of the year as we build toward Royal Rumble and WrestleMania season. And suddenly, mysteriously, cryptically, Triple H appears backstage with that knowing look, and production crews are whispering about surprise appearances. Let me walk you through the evidence that WWE absolutely does not want compiled in one place. First, multiple reports from credible wrestling journalists have confirmed that Rollins has been training at the WWE Performance Center. Not rehabilitation exercises. Not light cardio. Full training. Taking bumps. Running the ropes. Working with other talent. This isn't speculation, this isn't wishful thinking, this is documented fact that WWE has tried to keep under wraps. Second, Rollins himself has been posting on social media with increasing frequency, and if you actually analyze his posts instead of just scrolling past them, there's a pattern. The captions have shifted from recovery-focused to action-oriented. The images show a man who looks absolutely ready to go. The timing of these posts? Perfectly coordinated with major WWE events. Third, and this is where it gets really interesting, CM Punk. Yes, CM Punk. The Second City Saint has been running roughshod over Raw, inserting himself into every major storyline, positioning himself as the locker room leader, the voice of reason, the veteran presence. But there's one person who has history with Punk that runs deeper than almost anyone else on that roster. One person who challenged Punk's authority during his first WWE run. One person who represents everything Punk claims to have evolved past. Seth Rollins has been vocal, loudly and publicly vocal, about his issues with CM Punk returning to WWE. The tension is real. The animosity is genuine. And WWE would be absolutely foolish not to capitalize on that nuclear heat the moment Rollins is cleared to compete. Now let's talk about what happened at Wargames specifically, because this is where the story takes a turn that should have every single wrestling fan on the edge of their seat. The men's Wargames match was absolute carnage. Bodies everywhere. Weapons being utilized in ways we've never seen before. The traditional wargame structure creating opportunities for interference, for surprise entrance, for someone to make an impact that would reverberate throughout the entire wrestling industry. And while that match was happening, while our attention was focused on the ring, backstage segments were being filmed, conversations were taking place, decisions were being made. Triple H, the man who controls everything in WWE now, was orchestrating something. Multiple audience members have reported on social media that during commercial breaks, production staff were testing entrance music. Specifically, they tested several entrance themes that weren't used during the broadcast. One of those themes? The Second Coming by CFO$. Seth Rollins music. Why would production test entrance music for a wrestler who is supposedly months away from returning? Why would they do this during one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year? The answer is obvious: they're preparing for something imminent. They're making sure everything is ready for when they pull the trigger on Rollins' return. And that return could happen at any moment. But here's what's making me absolutely furious. What should make you furious if you care about honest storytelling and respecting the intelligence of wrestling fans? WWE has spent months building sympathy for Rollins. They've shown video packages of his injury. They've had commentators express concern about his well-being. They've positioned his absence as a tragic setback for a beloved performer. And all of that emotional manipulation, all of those carefully crafted narratives, might have been a work, a setup, a way to make his eventual return feel even more significant. Now, I understand that professional wrestling is built on deception. I understand that working the audience is part of the art form. But there's a difference between clever storytelling and outright lying to your fanbase, treating them like they're too stupid to connect the dots. The backstage scene at Wargames that's been making the rounds on social media shows something crucial that most people are missing. Look at the body language. Look at who's present in that shot. Look at the timing of when that footage was released. Triple H isn't just making a casual comment. He's sending a message. He's letting people know that plans are in motion. And in WWE, when Triple H sends a message, you better believe there's substance behind it. The game doesn't play around with social media teases unless he's ready to deliver on them. Let's examine the potential scenarios for how this plays out, because WWE has multiple options and each one is more explosive than the last. Scenario 1: Rollins returns at the Royal Rumble. This would be the safest, most expected option. The Royal Rumble is designed for surprise returns. The crowd would lose their minds. Rollins could eliminate several people, re-establish himself as a main event player, and set up his WrestleMania program in one night. But here's why I don't think this is the plan: it's too obvious. WWE knows that everyone expects Rollins at the Rumble. They know that fans are already fantasy booking his return for that event. And modern WWE, under Triple H's creative direction, loves to subvert expectations. Scenario 2: Rollins returns on Raw's Netflix debut in January. This is the big one, folks. This is the move that would generate mainstream media attention, that would justify Netflix's massive investment in WWE programming, that would make every single person who isn't currently watching wrestling pay attention. Imagine the premiere episode of Raw on Netflix. Imagine the star power WWE will assemble for that show. Imagine The Rock potentially appearing, John Cena beginning his farewell tour, and in the middle of all that spectacle, Seth Rollins' music hits. The building would explode. Social media would break. Netflix would get exactly the kind of viral moment they paid billions of dollars to secure. This scenario makes tremendous business sense, which is why I'm convinced WWE is seriously considering it. Scenario 3, and this is the one that keeps me up at night, the one that would be absolutely insane: Rollins returns before Royal Rumble. Maybe even this week on Raw. Maybe on the last Raw before Netflix. This would catch everyone completely off guard. This would shatter every prediction, every timeline, every carefully constructed theory about WWE's plans. And honestly, this might be exactly what they do. Because the element of surprise in professional wrestling is becoming increasingly difficult to achieve. Spoilers leak constantly. Insider reports ruin surprises. Fans have become so good at predicting WWE's moves that the only way to truly shock people is to do something nobody sees coming. Now let's address the elephant in the room: Rollins' health. Is he actually ready? Can his body handle the demands of WWE's brutal schedule? These are legitimate concerns that go beyond storylines and booking decisions. Seth Rollins has a well-documented history of working through injuries, of pushing his body beyond reasonable limits, of sacrificing his long-term health for short-term storytelling. He's had multiple knee surgeries. He's dealt with back problems. The Bronson Reed attack, while largely theatrical, did result in legitimate physical trauma that required recovery time. So when we talk about Rollins returning, we have to acknowledge that there's a real human being whose quality of life could be affected by coming back too soon. But here's what wrestling fans often forget: WWE employs some of the best medical professionals in the world. They're doctors, they're physical therapists, their entire medical infrastructure is designed to get performers back in the ring as safely and quickly as possible. If Seth Rollins is training at the Performance Center, if he's being cleared for physical activity, then WWE's medical team believes he's ready. They're not going to risk their biggest stars on a gamble. They're not going to put someone in the ring who could suffer a catastrophic injury that would result in lawsuits and PR nightmares. So when those backstage whispers suggest Rollins is ready, there's credible medical evidence supporting that claim. The bigger question isn't whether Rollins can return, it's whether he should return, and what story WWE tells with that return. This is where creative direction becomes crucial. Rollins has been one of the most consistent performers in WWE for over a decade. He's main event WrestleMania multiple times. He's held every major championship. He's proven he can work any style with any opponent. But his character has become somewhat stale. The visionary gimmick, while initially fresh and interesting, has run its course. What wrestling fans want, what the business needs, is evolution. We need Seth Rollins to return as something different, something dangerous, something that feels urgent and relevant to 2025's wrestling landscape. Imagine Rollins returning with a chip on his shoulder, angry that CM Punk has usurped his position as Raw's locker room leader. Imagine him returning with renewed aggression, targeting everyone who he feels betrayed him during his absence. Imagine him forming unexpected alliances or rekindling old rivalries in ways that feel fresh and compelling. This is the opportunity WWE has. They can either bring Rollins back as the same character doing the same promos, or they can use this absence as a reset button, a chance to reinvent one of their most valuable assets. The Wargames chaos, the backstage scenes, the cryptic Triple H comments, all of this is building towards something massive. WWE doesn't invest this much energy into teasing a return unless they're confident in their plans. They don't let footage leak unless they want to generate buzz. This is all calculated. This is all part of a larger strategy to make Seth Rollins return one of the biggest moments in recent WWE history. And as fans, we have a choice. We can either buy into the manipulation, allow ourselves to be worked, and enjoy the ride. Or we can stay cynical, refuse to get excited, and potentially miss out on what could be an incredible storytelling moment. So where does this leave us? What should you be watching for in the coming weeks? Pay attention to Raw. Watch for any mentions of Rollins, no matter how subtle. Monitor social media for deleted posts or cryptic messages. Listen to what wrestlers say in interviews when they're asked about locker room dynamics. All of these pieces fit together to form a picture of what WWE is planning. And if my analysis is correct, if the evidence points where I think it points, then Seth Rollins' return is imminent. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If this investigation into Seth Rollins' secret return has you as fired up as it has me, then show this video some love. Like, comment with your predictions about when and how Rollins returns, and share this with every wrestling fan you know who needs to see the truth. Subscribe to Ring Rumble because we're not stopping here. We're going to follow this story until it breaks wide open, until WWE has no choice but to reveal their hand, until Seth freaking Rollins stands in that ring once again. This is just the beginning, and you're not going to want to miss what comes next.